Hey, folks, here we are. Whoever's out there listening, this is the pre-show, so don't get excited yet.
But I already am.
3 minutes after, I've got Rainey with me even. We might do like a, it's Rainey and Scotty on Sunday.
Yeah, but I can't. I got to start getting kids ready for bed. There's school tomorrow.
Yes, there is school tomorrow. Hey, Matt Finn. Master Finn.
Hi, Matt.
How you doing?
When my sister was 4, she wanted to be Matt, and she wore boy underpants for about a year.
And she turned out liking guys.
And then she turned back to Kate.
If you were a far left progressive, you'd have stopped her hormones with drugs and coaxed her into turning herself into a guy. Found out somebody else from our past did that. I'll talk about that on the show for a couple of minutes without naming names.
I don't think that person did hormones. They just
No, not hormones. Just the idea, the whole concept.
Yeah, but it's a kid and it's a phase.
Yep.
I don't know. Not to be like we played along.
It's a kid and it's a phase.
And not to say we even played.
Got a minute and a half.
We just did the.
And we go live.
Okay, cool.
Kids are crazy.
We just let her wear boy underpants. It made her happy. She wanted to wear a hat. And
there you go.
When she wanted to be called Matt, we called her Kate. Then she would tell us she wanted to be called Matt. And then we'd say Matt. And then it would be fine for a while. So,
don't change a kid's sex because they go through silly phases.
Oh my God. Phases.
Well, you can never change their sex.
Phases. No.
You can only add or cut things off.
Right.
Make them take hormones or estrogen.
That's not really where I wanted to sit here and talk about
What do you want to talk about?
I don't know, not that.
Not that.
Not that.
We don't have to talk about that.
Jeebus.
We got 40 seconds and we go live on the radio.
Want to see what Scotty can do in 8?
Want to see what I can do in 8 seconds? I made a kid once. In 8 seconds, it was like rodeo. I won the belt buckle. Brianna!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Brianna. Hang on. In about 8 seconds, we got to go dark. And then we'll come back on. So everybody, I need you to sit tight. And we'll be back in about 12 seconds.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Five mic.
Is that okay? I won't say that again.
All right. She said, what am I supposed to do?
Sure you don't want me to say that again?
Hey, good evening, folks. Welcome. Happy Monday night. It is me, Scotty Roberts. This is the Intrepid radio program right here on subspace.radio if you're listening to just the audio. And you can also join us over on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts, where there's so much more than just listening to this show. You get the video. And with the video tonight, you get my wife, too. Hey, Rainey.
Hi, Scotty. Hi, everybody.
That was not affectatious at all. Hi, Rainey. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Scotty?
I'm good. Did you have a fun day today, too?
I did.
I knew you did. I can't read the chat without my glasses tonight. So, what was I going to say about that? Well, she's here tonight, but she said when we were going out to break, she said, I said, we'll be back in about 8 seconds. And she says, that was awkward to come into the show at that time, says Brianna. I don't know if you're talking about that time or a different time.
Yeah, that was that time.
But she said, yeah, you should see what else Scotty could do in 8 seconds. And there's this great story we have with all the glorious intimacy we have had. We could have made movies and made millions, but we didn't.
Right.
There was that one time where it lasted about 8 seconds. It was like, come on, let's go. Ah, done. And that's where Rowan came from. So, guys, and that's where I say that's true rodeo sex. This is not the topic tonight,
Not the topic.
but rodeo sex, you know,
Next.
you strap on for a while, see if you can hold on for 8 seconds. And that's what happened that night. Cowboys and cowgirls. So, anyway, happy birthday, Brianna. It's Brianna's birthday today.
Yeah, happy birthday.
I think she's 46 now. 46 years
What?
old.
46. No, she's not.
Hey, Ken Bellos. Good to see you in the chat room. Steve Clark. Good to see you, brother. Yusara Yusuf. Chuck Thurston. Brianna Learman. Matthew Finn. Master and commander of this here chat room. Mark Eddy is here. And, there's Brianna Learman again.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to see who all is just showing their faces in the chat room tonight so far. Hope you had a good, happy new year. It was a good one around here.
Yeah.
I think we actually made it to midnight last night.
Did you make sure to open your doors and your windows and air out the old air?
Is that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
So at midnight, you open up the doors.
We don't have to do it at midnight, but that's
time to enjoy my last year in my 20s.
Aww.
LOL. Oh, are you 29?
29 was my favorite year.
29 was a good year.
Yeah.
When I turned 30, that was hard because then I left my 20s behind. I was no longer a kid. It's the way I saw it. Well, now there it is. There's the official end of youth. Then when I turned 40, it was like, this is nothing. So no big at all. Hey, Philip Blair, good to see you. And so what are you going to do with your year, Brianna? Brianna, you should just, no, I can't have you call in because we still got some wonky stuff going. You can't call in till the captain's cabin, which is an hour from now. And you might not be up then. But she says, I sure am. Well, that's good. I was just thinking about you and John today. Thinking, will we ever see them again? It's been so long. And they've turned down every invite we've ever made to come over and hang out because they're like busy, working, going to school, raising kids. Sheesh.
Oh, you're frozen, Brianna said. That might be on your end. We're not frozen.
Yeah, it comes and goes. We're not frozen the way we can see it, but we are frozen in general. I think the stream locks up every now and then. So, yeah, tonight I wanted to talk about the care and feeding of Sasquatches. But it's not what you think. It's not really what you think. It's an interesting little article I stumbled across. And it was written by a woman who is a veterinarian. I'm not going to get into it quite yet, but she's a veterinarian. And she wrote a book that was called, if I can scroll down to it fast enough.
Scrolled too far.
I scrolled too far. Melanie Butera. She's a... Really?
Yeah.
It's my live audience.
He's really boring tonight.
Veterinarian. She's based in Canal Fulton, Ohio. And she's the author of Dilly the Deer, a true story of love, healing, and family. And she talks about, in this article, the care and feeding of Sasquatches. Observations from living with a Sasquatch man.
Nice.
And so this is going to tie in neatly with some of the things we talk about male and female language and the way we talk to each other, the way we communicate. And I thought that it was going to be a pretty cool little thing to tackle tonight. So I suppose I can get right into that unless you want to talk about some of the other things you want to talk about.
I'll let you get to your stuff. I should go prep our kids because it's 9 p.m. and they have school tomorrow morning.
Yes,
I got to go figure out where backpacks and boots and
I want you to think about something. This is not the topic she wanted to talk about, although I said it was the topic I would have liked to talk about. It's we look back and we see a lot of our old circles, people within those circles that are letting their kids decide what sex they want to be, what gender they want to be, and then wholeheartedly giving into that with their kids. There was a little boy that played with my little boy, Sam, 15, 16, 17 years ago. And he's now a little girl. Sam stayed a boy.
Well, I was going to say he's not little anymore. He's grown up.
Yeah, he's Sam's age. And then there's someone else in that very same circle, intimately together in those circles. We just found out that has a kid that was born out of wedlock. So you can already see that there might have been some problems there. But that kid decided they wanted to be the opposite sex. And it's like, and that's not the only two. It's like this club they all want to be part of. And, I got a thing with the transgenderism thing. I don't have a problem if anybody's an adult and they decide that that's what they want to do. It's freedom. It's their own bodies. They can do with them whatever they want. I don't care. It's not my business. But you start letting kids do that, and you do that and make those decisions for your kids, that's pretty dangerous ground. And so that's what we ran across today, going, wow, there's 2 or 3 I know of out of those same circles of people that are doing that. So it's a lot more detail than that, as you can imagine. I'm being deliberately vague. But, and if they're listening, if they ever listen to this show, which I doubt, but you know who you are. And, I would say there's a part of me that wants to just say, shame on you. Don't be such an idiot. Raise your kids right. And there's a lot more debate to go into than that, I'm sure. Dialogue and so on. More than that, I'm sure. So if my 8-year-old came up to me and said, I want to be a boy, I'd say, well, if you want to be a boy, why don't you go ahead and live like a boy for a while? Not seriously consider. I wouldn't start giving them medications for their hormones or start removing parts of their body at age 8 to 10. I would say they're going to grow out of that. So I think if you do not mentor it, I think the likelihood of that happening is slim. So just a thought, my thought in general, in brief, without a lengthy conversation on it. So there, I hit that anyway.
Okay.
Are you getting up and going?
Yeah. Was that not get out of the, I know I said what
no,
I
you don't have to go anywhere.
I'll get out of the chair and go away.
You don't have to go anywhere. But if you say like to grab me a sugar-free 7-Up, I'd accept that with vigor.
Okay, well, let me get the kids ready for school in bed.
It's in that little fridge right outside the studio door. I'm just saying, it's a suggestion. It's not an order. It's nothing like that. But I love you.
Now you get to guess if I'm going to shake it or not.
Oh, now I got to guess if she's going to shake it up or not when she hands it to me. So here, let me get this lined up. I got an eye that feels like I jabbed something in it. And so it's, Ken Bello says, check its DNA. It's still a boy. That's right. Yeah, you can have all the surgeries you want and all the hormone medicines you want and all of that. Will you open that for me? Uh-oh.
It's a 50-50. It's a 50-50. Which one you want?
Well, let's see. Is it this one?
Yeah, it is. Don't.
Thank you. You're an evil person.
This one's already open.
No, that's because I just loosened it very slowly. Thank you, my dear.
Watch this.
Don't do it. She's evil. Evil. Not.
Everybody, it was fun.
She's not evil. She's evil. Evil. So there we go. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the program. I'm glad you're here. Elderberry, Rameldian, Sarah Yusuf. Forgot to say please. Oh, hey, Rainey. Please and thank you. There it is. My please and thank you. A little late, but it's better late than never, right? And we went out to dinner tonight with the whole family. We actually went to a restaurant, not to fast food. Which I'm so sick of the food we eat. You know, we eat here and we eat pretty good. Excuse me. Wow. That's there. Speaking of dinner. But we thought, let's go out to a restaurant tonight. We haven't done that for a long time. And it was more money than I wanted to spend, but it wasn't out of hand, but it was about what I thought it would be. And we had barbecued ribs and some kind of burger that had all kinds of stuff on it. And Ellie wanted to order like 8 things. And it was like everything was like an average of $19 on the menu. It's like, no, I think you can have, you know. So we had to talk her down. Hey, Uncle Dave, good to see you. And Paige Rockwell Soiree is in the room. And so we went out to eat tonight. That was good. That's sitting heavy on me right now. That's more food than I eat usually at one sitting. And that was, but it was good. And so we had a good time with that. And that brings us up to showtime. And I wanted to talk about this thing we've talked about before, this language between men and women, the way guys do things, the way women do things. That segues off of, gee, my little girl wants to be a boy, or gee, my little boy wants to be a girl. I will facilitate that. I think it goes all the way into DNA. It goes all the way into what are you really? If you change your sex, does that change your DNA? No, it doesn't. It's all up here. And without getting into that, we were in Hudson, Uncle Dave. I don't even know the name of the place. It's someplace Rainey found that had gluten-free food amongst things on the menu. So it was all right. And Steve had a bacon cheeseburger for supper with baked potatoes. Yeah, Flynn had a BLT with baked potato. How about that? It was a big BLT. It was a, Roadhouse type of BLT. So I think he enjoyed that. Let me take a drink. I like it like that when it's ice cold. Give myself brain freeze. That always works and helps. And so when Chuck Thurston says, when your wife says fine in an argument, things are not fine. That's very true. I learned that one early on. And what was the little meme I saw? It said, wife says, are those your clothes laying in a pile over there? And it says, me, I respond, yes, I killed a Jedi. And she says, I hate you. And I say back, yes, use your hate. So anyway, it works better in the meme. So I've got this little article I pulled up from this veterinarian, and I'm going to use this as kind of a basis of what I want to talk about tonight. But I thought her article was rather humorous, even though it was serious. She accomplished both. And her article was called The Feeding of Sasquatches, Observations from Living with Sasquatch Man. And this was while I was actually looking for articles on Sasquatch. So Dave Potter says, keeping that in the garage fridge, are you? I love this time of year when the garage is a fridge. Yeah. No, we moved the little fridge from the garage downstairs here to the studio. So what we found happened in the middle of winter is everything in that little fridge freezes. So you think it's keeping the temperature. Well, yeah, it's keeping it, but it's also lowering with the temperature that's outside the house. So it's a little warmer in the garage, if you can call it warmer. It's just not as frozen in the garage, but it still freezes things in the little fridge. But as I mentioned, this veterinarian, she wrote a little book a few years back, and this little book was entitled Dilly the Deer, A True Story of Love, Healing, and Family. And as from the point of view of a veterinarian of taking in a baby deer and raising this deer on their farm. And then the deer passed away. And she says, after my pet deer Dilly became famous, my husband Steve and I were interviewed on live television. I vividly recall a question CBS correspondent Harry Smith asked me. Does Dilly cause a lot of damage to the house? I hesitated, she said. From my vantage point, seated next to my piano, looking past the cameraman's shoulder, I could see the remnants of a wall that used to separate my dining room from the rec room. Right next to me was a glass hutch, protectively housing my collections of Lardo porcelain figurines and antique heirloom Bohemian ruby glass. Prominently missing from the shelves were any of the several pieces of Waterford crystal I had received as wedding gifts. She goes on and she says, damage to the house? Yes, indeed. Animals are very damaging to the house. Not the hooved one, though. Dilly is an angel, the little dear. Other than a few cabinet knobs she's kicked off by rubbing her head on them, she's done relatively little damage. Even that delicate ruby glass I inherited from my grandmother has been unscathed by the deer's presence in our home. It wasn't Dilly that ripped down my dining room wall or destroyed my collection of Waterford. No, that was done by my other exotic pet, the one sitting right next to me on camera, the Sasquatch husband. Now, ladies, before you go, yes, that is just like my home. Think about it. Do you have a man that you would call your Sasquatch husband? You know, guys do differently. You know, newsflash. Here, I'll do my old Rush Limbaugh impression. Newsflash right here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers. Men and women are different from each other. And this is what she's going to get into here. Very, very nice, Philip Blair. Oh, dear, he says, O-D-E-E-R. And so Dilly can do very little damage, she said, compared to the Sasquatch. She couldn't hoist a still chainsaw and just decide one day to cut out a large opening in the dining room wall. She could not have destroyed my Waterford, at least in the manner its life was taken, being blown up by bottle rockets that had failed to launch. It seems Sasquatch had decided the elegant long shape of my Waterford flower vases that were supposed to be housing roses he should have given me were more suited to hold cheap Chinese fireworks. For his primitive amusement, he lit up a $2 handful of fireworks so poorly made that sometimes instead of whistling into the sky, they blew up in place, taking their $200 heavy lead crystal, hand-blown by Irish craftsmen, rocket holders with them. Guys, we're like boys. We do stuff like boys. We're adventurous. Ladies, we like to explore and adventure. We like to do things in unconventional ways. We like to do dangerous things. Sometimes they seem like not very dangerous things. But like when I was a kid, we used to take our knives, and we all had like little hunting knives, and we would throw them at each other's feet to see how close we could get. And the guy that got the closest without drawing any blood was, of course, the winner. So guys do things like that. Now, this vet goes on and she says that she's not alone in mopping up the damage caused by choosing to have Sasquatches in our homes. And she said she knows for a fact that her husband is not unique. If he were the only hairy missing link man-child out there, TV shows like Street Outlaws, Fast and Loud, and Duck Dynasty wouldn't exist. She said, ironically, the women's equality movement has only not demonstrated to women just how unequal the two sexes are actually, except for those who are biologically inclined to choose an alternative, which we just talked about. Women are predestined to share lives and homes with a species whose behaviors are as foreign to us as we are from France. Conehead. As a public service, therefore, my soul sisters coming home as I did from an 18-hour shift to find a 12 by 8-foot hole cut out of their dining room and still smoking, still chainsaw on their Hendrodon solid black walnut walnut dining table. I offer this primer on the care and feeding of one the animal vet school forgot to include in my curriculum. Men. So this is for the ladies tonight, remember? In writing this, she says, I call upon my knowledge of biology, evolution, history, and literature, but especially upon my 27 years of living daily and observing the odd grunting ways of my very own missing link, Sasquatch man, she calls him. And she starts by saying, let me begin my fembibal with the sacred words of the prophet Joan Rivers. Ladies, can we talk? Here are some observations I have made through the years about the Sasquatch species. And she's going to go into a list here. And so, yes, it's true, ladies and gentlemen, men and women are different. We're part of the same species, the human race, but we represent different aspects of the same species, male and female. Chuck Thurston says, strangely enough, having a buck knife through your foot doesn't teach the lesson you would think it would. I see you've played the same games, Chuck. We're of about the same era, and that's what we did in the early 70s. We were playing games in the yard. Let's see. What else are people saying? Venusians and Martians. There it is. Basically, that's an old book now, when you think about it. So she goes on. Number one, the word done appears to have a meaning foreign to women. And so she says, like all women, I've learned the standard definition of done. Done. Past participle of the verb do. Finished. Completed. In Sasquatchese, however, it takes on a whole different meaning, especially in regard to an ongoing project like building a race car. In the garage, done means only $10,000 to $30,000 to go before I'll declare the project done again, and then put another 10 G's in it and call it done again then. That's her take on it. She said she was standing in the holy temple of the Sasquatch tribe, the Carburetor Cathedral, summit racing, with hubby one Christmas Eve, waiting for him to pay the latest addition to his current done project. The young man ahead at the counter, upon completing his purchase, turned around and told the considerably long line, that's the last part I need for my truck, and it's done. I, she says, and every woman within a 5-mile radius laughed. You greenhorn, I said aloud, do you think they built this gorgeous mega 1,000 square foot store on guys only needing one more part for their truck? Such a shame to see another youth corrupted by the Sasquatch life, she says. By the time he gets ready, really done with his truck, his ex-girlfriend will wish he'd taken up a cheaper addiction like collecting dominoes. So that was her first point, is that the word done appears to have a foreign meaning to women than their men or their Sasquatch men. So I think this is a great topic to have the women involved. Sarah, I expect you to call in tonight, although you're not a married woman. If I remember that right, I don't think I'm screwing that up. Or you don't have kids, I know. But it'd be interesting to get some women's perspective on some of these things. The Seven Sisters is a good choice, says Chuck Thurston. So my net is glitching, says Matthew. No, we're not in Barbados with a huge ocean between us, Matt. So it might be on your end. So, and I think people's independent internets tend to act the way they act. So number 2, nothing embarrasses Sasquatches except Well, no, not even that is her point. Nothing proves to me more that men are a totally different species than women than our respective restrooms. Any decent ladies' room, even at the dingiest of truck stops, has divided stations with locking privacy doors. We embarrass easily. We don't want anyone to know what we're doing in there, even though everyone knows what we're doing in there. We wait till water is running or the coast is clear to tinkle, embarrassed that someone might hear the telltale sound of a normal and necessarily bodily function. Sasquatches, on the other hand, now this what's very interesting about this. I was just thinking about this yesterday. I came in the house, and we always take our shoes off in the house. I tend to not so much, depending on where I've been. But after yesterday, or it was the day before, we had a bunch of errands to run with the kids, and I stopped in the restroom at Walmart, and it was disgusting. And I thought, I'm standing in this. And there was some other place during the course of the 8 hours we were out that I peed somewhere else, and I'm standing in front of a urinal. And I looked down, I'm actually standing in a puddle of urine. And I'm like, guys, I'm going to say to my brother men for a moment, not breaking any ties or any fidelity with the brotherhood of menness. But guys, do you know how to fucking aim? I'm just curious. I step in more puddles of piss in a public lavatory where guys can stand up, whip it out, stand against a urinal, pee into it, yet there's still puddles of piss on the floor. So I definitely, every time I walked outside yesterday in the slush and snow, I wiped my shoes off as best I could. And I came in the door yesterday. I took my shoes off when I got home. And this may sound a bit anally retentive, but I sprayed them with Lysol when I got home. I thought, kills 99.9% of bacteria. Let's give it a shot. So that's pretty nasty stuff. So Sasquatches, she says, on the other hand, very hairy, knuckle-dragging hand, don't give a public scratch about who knows if they tinkle, belch, or toot. My husband tells me that in most male restrooms, some bodily functions take place in full view of all other men. Sometimes like at sports stadiums with a barnyard-style trough. You ever been to those guys? The big sheet metal trough cut into a V shape and about 15 feet long, where 20 guys shove in there and they all pee together at the same time into the trough. That's what we do. You don't see women doing that for many reasons. So after hearing these stories, she said, I'm flabbergasted that some women want gender-neutral restrooms. In this department, we are not, will never be, and don't ever want to be equal. We moved out of the cave a long time ago, and we're not going back. Yeah, Chuck, that's the law of the jungle right there. You can all pee standing elbow to elbow, shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, but you never look at the other guy. You don't look. So to my Sasquatch man, she says, however, the more primitive, the better. The National Geographic videographer who visited us to make a film about Dilly, the deer, remember, told us about her first assignment in a small town in Turkey. She said the restroom there was an outhouse with a slatted wood floor, stationed over a pigsty. Whatever the human above deposited, the pigs came running and greedily consumed it. She and I both shuddered in disgust at the Turkish waste processing solution. My husband said, cool. It's cheaper than plumbing. I think I've mentioned before, when I was in Egypt, we were at the Temple of Karnak, which is a huge complex of temples. And there are several guardians or the people that watch over the site. And they're all poor. Nobody's making good money being a guardian at a site. living in the local village. Well, they had a little hovel that they lived in right there on the site. And I was looking for a bathroom. There's no public bathrooms. There's no outhouses or anything like that. It's just a foreign concept. And but I met the guy, and he's dressed in his galabeya and a headdress. And I said, do you happen to have a restroom, lavatory, bathroom? Oh, yes, follow me. And I'm following him, and I'm clenching my buttocks together in hopes that I would make it in time. And he delivered me into their little house, and there's children sitting all over and wives with veils on. And he says, come. And he points to the bathroom, and there it is. And it was pretty much the same deal. It was a concrete floor with it had a seat, but it was an open seat that fell to an open grate on the floor. And they're laying in the wet on the floor. And I think it was hosed down. At least they kept it clean. But was a hose like from your sink to spray off dishes. There was one of those that you could use because there was no toilet paper. You just use that it was like a handheld bidet. And I was fine with it, but it was like, wow, culture shock right there. I'm used to toilet paper. But anyway, so guys, we generally don't have as much problem with that. I remember there was one other trip to Egypt. We were out in the middle of the desert, man. I got the call, and I just went around this is sand dune and a hill, and with rocks and sand, and squatted on the uphill side of the sand dune, and did my business there and buried it. And that was pretty much, and I always carried wipes with me, wet wipes. So I lucked out there, but I buried it in the sand. So, 3,000 years from now, somebody will unearth that and go, we have found human fecal matter, petrified. Matt Finn says, I can confirm my wife has said the same thing on many occasions, Dave, along with comments regarding the smells. What did Uncle Dave say? He said, I was recently told that women's rooms are just as bad, that women not wanting to sit on the seat will sort of squat or hover above it, standing and in essence just pee all over the seat. Oh, that's strange. Now, I did have to once use a woman's bathroom because the men's room was overcrowded. And, it's like that. What was that commercial? That old commercial? Was it a car insurance commercial? It's got to be 10 years ago. The guy, he's in the white short-sleeved shirt and a tie. He's sweating. He's bald. And he's running for the bathroom at the gas station. That's locked. And he's going like, oh, no. And inside, it shows a little boy. He's wearing his little cowboy hat and his toy pistols. He's looking in the mirror going, he's not doing anything in that bathroom but playing around. And meanwhile, the guy outside, he's pound. And he goes, yeah, just a minute, says the kid. Meanwhile, it shows the guy, his eyes are rolling back in his head and beads of sweat falling off of his face. I've been in that condition a few times in my life, and the times they have, it always makes a good story. So, I've had that happen several times. When Rainey and I were on, what's the island in New York? The Hampton. We were in the Hamptons. We went to hear a concert there. And so we're in the Hamptons, and we're just walking from our hotel to the beach through a very wealthy neighborhood. And we're about midway. It's about a mile walk, and in a peaceful, gorgeous setting. And I've got to go. Like, oh my God, I have to go. I was actually looking at the manicured. It looked like Edward Scissorhands had paid visits to all these front yards because all the shrubbery was all shaped, and it was beautiful, conical, square, animals, whatever. And I thought, I wonder if I could crawl into one of those and lay some pipe, drop some Duke. And I thought, no, I probably shouldn't. And so we actually made it to the beach where there was public restrooms built really nice, like a boardwalk, and went to the bathroom, and there's somebody's in the men's room, and it's locked. And I hear a voice say something like, I will be out in a minute. And I stood there for 5 at least, straining, stretching, contorting, squeezing, pinching, trying to maintain my cool. And finally I said to Rainey, I said, I haven't seen anybody go in and out of the women's room. I got to go in there. Just if somebody comes, just tell them my husband's in there defiling it. So I walked into the women's room, and here we are. We're on a white sand beach, and I walk into this, and it's a hot day, and open the door. It's like, whew, it's like a breath of cool air. I'd have swore there were punkawallas in the corners with big feather fans. There were vases filled with flowers and wallpaper and all kinds of lovely things all over in there. I open up the door to the stall. It's a private stall. And you open it up, and that's got pictures on the walls and little glass figurines on the shelves and all different kinds of perfumes and air perfumes and things like that. I'm like, oh my God. I was like in some sort of Valhalla of bathrooms. Well, I sat down and I let the grumpy loose, and there was a woman came in. I heard the woman's voice, and I hear my wife talking to her outside, and my wife says, my husband really had to go. I'm so very sorry. He had to go in there. Oh, that's perfectly fine, the woman's saying. And when I came out, I said to the woman, I said, I hope you don't have to go back. You might want to give that a minute to air. And, as a guy, I don't care. But it was such a beautiful, precious, secret little garden in there that I didn't want to defile it. And she goes, oh, I'm okay. I've got a husband too. And she walks in and says out loud, she goes, whoo, yeah, you did a number. Now, it was clean. I don't have anything defiled other than the air. But you get the point. Oh, grumpy. Sorry, grumpy stack. It's an old word. Anyway, let's move on. The third point this veterinarian is making, the F word is primitive means of communication. She says, in my 5 decades and counting lifespan, I've probably uttered the F word only a dozen times. Oh man, she's sheltered. And she said, I remember using it. She should hang out with my wife for a day. She said, I remember using it when I got an audit notice from the IRS. And for sure when I came home to discover my dining room wall was gone. Fuck. I'm sure she let a groan out. I use it so seldom that if I do, she says, people around me know I'm really, really upset. So Sasquatch, her man, uses it 50 or more times a day. It's the first word he says when he wakes up. Fuck. It's the apparently swearing at God for allowing him to see another day. Out in his man cave garage, he and his buddies throw that word around like it's the article the. So on observing his species for many years now, I've realized it's not profanity to them, nor is it to me, by the way, or my lovely, delicate flower of a wife. This word appears to be an integral part of men's communications. They say it when they say hello, fucking hey, where the fuck you been? And when they say goodbye, fucking goodbye, fuck, it's going to be a long time. It's the Sasquatch aloha, the word fuck. Furthermore, the word seems to take on different meanings with the inflection of their voice, like in Mandarin Chinese. For example, when our local football team, the hapless Cleveland Browns, lose a game by fumbling in the end zone with 5 seconds left, the F words that fly from the Sasquatches are dark, foreboding, and filled with anger and rage. If the Browns somehow win, however, the same word with a different inflection becomes an expression of joy and surprise. Fucking A! So apparently in the cave days, letters were in short supply. Sasquatches had to use this one word to express every single one of the 2 or 3 emotions they have. No need for a QWERTY keyboard. Just give them one with a single mega key they can pound with their fist to type all their purposeful 4-letter words. I would say it's like Guardians of the Galaxy. I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. Fuck becomes for us. Fuck. 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 You know, it becomes a word that we can use across the broad spectrum of emotional stimuli. Number 4, she says, socks are matched by utilitarian purpose, not by color, length, or fabric. Now, this is where I part with her depiction of men. I have a system for keeping socks. No, I'm not gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that or anything wrong with keeping track of your socks. I take my socks off. You've heard the argument with my wife and I even. The best plan you can implement to keep the socks in your house from going missing from each other, so you don't lay out 14 socks and they're all different. You go, there's no matches for these. Along with the 300 other socks owned by the other 4 members of your family. So I do my socks this way. And I have told my kids to follow suit. I have asked my wife to follow suit because I've seen more conflict in the heat of the moment of trying to get out of the house. I can't find my socks. And kids digging around all over the house, baskets, dumping baskets over looking for socks. I said, all you got to do is what your dad does. I take my socks. When I take them off at night, I pin them together with a safety pin, clip, throw them in my basket. And now I generally do my own laundry anyway. But if my socks ever get lost or into the general population of socks, guess what? I'll always know which ones are mine. They're pinned at the toe. And I'll never lose a pair because they're pinned at the toe. I've gotten my kids multicolored. I let them choose their color, pins to pin together their socks. Do they use them? No. That's like a chore. I'm not going to do that. So they remain in the sad, dark ages of having to look for their socks every day. Well, I just go to my drawer and I'm like, open the drawer. Oh, look, I have a pair of socks. Oh, there's 2. They're pinned together at the toe. And I got 8 more pair like that. So there you go. That's my tip. But socks, she says, are matched by utilitarian purpose, not by color, length, or fabric. She says, ladies, a really fast way to know if the man you're interested in is a civilized man or a Sasquatch is to just look at his socks. If they match, chances are you're about to go out with a regular, properly evolved man. If the socks match only in purpose and not in appearance, you're about to learn the ways of the Sasquatch. Lord help you. That is not to say that even the most refined Armani-suited, French-cuffed, socks-wearing, matching and everything man does not still have Sasquatch tendencies. Not even an Armani suit can give them back that little extra genetic piece they lack off the Y chromosome. However, some men have evolved enough to at least pretend that details like matching socks matter in a civilized world. I'll tell you, I have 2 things that make me stand out as a civilized man. Socks pinned at the toe for laundry and towels folded the correct way. God damn it, fucking A. So there you go. I'm doing a lot of F word tonight. Number 5, she says. And we've got what? We still got 9 minutes left. We're going to make this. There is no risk too great, no boom too loud for a really stupid stunt. Through the years, I've witnessed my husband, she says, and his Sasquatch tribe make potato rocket launchers, Dorito bonfires, acetylene. I don't even. It's a hyphenated word from one line to the next. Actylene tank bombs. I don't even know what those are. They've blown up more stuff than the U.S. military, than the U.S. Army. Why? Were they trying to free a captured people? No. Were they pounding Iwo Jima for an amphibious landing? No, nothing so noble. They just wanted to see the potato launch through the air, see how high the Dorito fire could be, and hear just how very, very loud the boom is when the acetylene tank goes. I've made a potato launcher. Civility, says Michelle Canham-Free. She says, I've observed some of their tribe leaders on television pulling off these stunts. Survivor, one of my heroes, Survivor man Les Stroud, taught them about the flammable Doritos. The Mythbusters guys did no woman a service, believe me, by showing fellow Sasquatches that coffee creamer was apparently C4 with French vanilla flavoring. Remember that. In Sasquatchese, the phrase, don't try this at home, must translate to, did you see that mushroom cloud? Go to the store right now and stock up on Coffee Mate. So thanks to shows like these, whenever you see a story in the news now about a mysterious boom that's being attributed to a supersonic jet or an alien spacecraft, somewhere in that community is a Sasquatch like my husband, she says, in his backyard with a Bic lighter and a feckless smile. I once had to drag, I'd heard stories my whole life. Because remember, I grew up in the era in the 60s and the 70s where we used those old light bulbs for Christmas trees. And I don't think there were artificial Christmas trees, so they were all real trees. And those bulbs got hot, damn hot. And you could set a tree on fire if you didn't keep it properly watered. So I grew up my whole life, up until about 10 years ago, wondering what would happen if a tree actually caught on fire. So at the end of the Christmas season and the New Year's season, or about this time of year, this is when we had the ranch, I dragged our dead, dry Christmas tree out from the living room, out into the barnyard, the big open barnyard. And I stood about 10 feet away. And I had the family around. I go, okay, watch this. Click. No, flick with the match. No, this was Abby and Bryn and Sam. So this is a longer time ago. Switch, burning match. Fling it over into the tree. About a 1 second pause. You're watching and it goes. And we had like a 30-foot tall fire bomb. So if your tree ever catches fire when it's that dry, you're going to have a fire bomb in your living room. So, and we were all like, ho, did you see that? So anyway, she goes on. Every illness is potentially fatal. When I was first told my cancer had spread everywhere, I stumbled out of the surgeon's exam room feeling like I'd been hit by a train. Sasquatch, my husband, was in the waiting room playing a drag racing game on his iPad. I struggled to find a way to gently tell him the horrible news that I'd just learned. Fortunately, I didn't have to bother. At that time, he was tied up in his own medical drama. He had a man cold. As we were walking back to the car, he said, "What took so long? I feel so sick. I think I have a fever. Feel my forehead." Still speechless, I looked at him sharply with tears in my incredulous, dazed eyes. He didn't notice. Instead, he took my hand, put it on his forehead. "Do you think I have a fever?" She says women get colds too. However, we just get a regular cold. Our colds just make us buy Kleenex and drink tea. We still have enough energy to go to both of our jobs, make dinner, tend to the children, and fix the cable when it's on the fritz during the Monday night game. To a man, however, a cold is as bad as bubonic plague, the same fearless hominid that delights in a coffee creamer A-bomb can be brought to his knees by a few shreds of viral RNA. Ribonucleic acid, by the way, those of you who wondered. A man cold turns a Sasquatch into a teddy bear, clutching, moaning, quivering mass of lime jello in size 12 work boots. He can't work. He can't spread the blanket over his cold feet. He can't even use the TV remote without requesting aid from his never sympathetic enough spouse. And that's true to an extent. Now, we're brought down by how the mighty shall fall. So, what do we got? We got 3 minutes of airtime left over on the radio station. So, number 7 was no women are allowed in Sasquatch areas. My husband likes to work out in a gym that he swears, civil rights legislation notwithstanding, does not allow women to join. He's proud of it. It's a man's gym. He gloats. No frou-frou decor or TVs in there. No women allowed. And when this happens, don't go clamoring to the ACLU. Don't stand outside the door with a protest sign saying that men-only facilities are unfair. Have you been there? She asks. To these places? This particular gym smells like a refuse barge on a hot summer Jersey day. No self-respecting woman would be caught dead in those places, even if an F5 tornado were bearing down on her and this gym was the only refuge in sight. Instead of protesting, just let them think they're winning the battle of the sexes this one time. All right, we got a little less than 2 minutes left. Number 8 was it can always go faster. My final observation of the Sasquatch tribe comes directly from living among them. Hubby woke me up one night upset. I had the worst dream, he said. It was a nightmare, a real nightmare. Must have been bad for him to wake me up to tell me about it. What happened? I asked naively. I dreamt I was at the racetrack and I was racing my 46 Chevy truck. We were at the racetrack at Norwalk. He was anxious and out of breath as he continued the story. We went down the track. My car did a 10-9 in the quarter mile. No one had any money. We couldn't get any lunch. So we came back home and we watched a football game in the garage and drank beer. I was puzzled, she said. When I have nightmares, serial murderers and axes are involved. His nightmare sounded like just any other day of his life. I just had to ask, why was that so scary? 10-9, he shouted. My truck can go much faster than that. His nightmare gave me an excellent peek into Sasquatch psyche. Nothing is as important to them as speed, not their wives, their mothers, or their children. And so she brings her article to an interesting close. And I just want to say this is the third law of something, of nature. And it's the way it is, ladies. So love your men, accept them as squatchy as they come. As for my radio audience, I just want to say thank you for being here. Live long and prosper. Stick around for and there's my little girl. Stick around for the captain's cabin.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid radio program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Hey, folks, welcome back to the captain's cabin. And there is my child again. Hi.
Hi.
What you doing?
Nothing.
You're crazy.
I know.
I know. At least she knows. Well, healing the problem, recognizing the problem is the first step to healing it. Hey, that story wasn't meant to start car talk. Though you can talk cars if you really want to. I don't do car talk because I don't know much about doing cars. So,
What does howdy?
hello-de? Howdy. Steve Clark says, howdy, Hillary. Howdy. Like Sheriff Woody. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Hi.
Hi is her response. So, yeah. So, did you enjoy your dinner out tonight? Are you talking? This is radio. People got to hear you. Did you enjoy your dinner out tonight?
Yeah!
Okay, goodbye. You can go now. You're off the camera anyway. See, we can't see you. See ya. Bye.
Uncle
Go.
Dave's
Leave.
calling. Uncle
See
Dave's,
ya.
Uncle Dave's calling.
I see him over there. I see his fingers going. All right. You go do your bedtime thing with Moss.
Whooshy, whooshy, whooshy,
Goodbye.
whooshy.
See ya. Don't hop out. Walk out. Thank you.
It's called twerking.
She's hopping out. It's called twerking, she said. Oh, no, that's good. That's good. That's wonderful. My child twerking out of the room. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. What does that say? Yeah, Scott. Oh, Scotty's mini-me. Yeah. Arr, Elderberry. That's right. That was a loud shout. It was. It burst me eardrums. So, anyway, we got Uncle Dave is hanging in the wings already. He just popped on like bang. So, here we go. Here's Uncle Dave.
Boom.
How you doing, Uncle Dave?
I got to tell you an F-bomb story.
Okay.
I think you've heard it, but I don't think I've told it on the air before. So I'd been living in the fraternity house, been away at college, first time home since I moved into the fraternity house. Thanksgiving dinner. And mom and dad are there, and my brother John and his wife and his two kids, Derek being 4 at the time. And I look over at Derek and I say, Derek, pass me the fucking potatoes without thinking. and I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm muzzling myself. And it's just like a continuous stream of swear words pouring out of my face. There's the clinking of forks and utensils hitting all the plates around the table. My dad glaring at me. My sister-in-law falling off her chair laughing. And this tiny little cherub voice above all the ding of this going, which one are the fucking potatoes? I got mashed potatoes and I got sweet potatoes.
Nice. Nice. That's like the old joke they told about when I was in the Marines. They said, you're going to go home and you're going to ask your grandma to pass the fucking potatoes. So, yeah, that's kind of the way it was. So,
yep. I've actually worked really hard on dropping the F-bomb from my common everyday language.
and then you come over here.
Yeah. And then I come over there and I just pick it all up again.
And then there's Rainey.
I pick it up from Rainey.
Yeah, we all pick it up from Rainey. So, but it's such a sweet and nurturing part of herself that
It is. It is.
so. That all you got?
That's all I got.
Okay.
Click, he throws me out.
What's that?
I said click, he throws me out.
Yeah. See ya. Our Captain Big Beard.
Not for much
Elderberry.
Not for much longer.
Well, we all saw what happened with Solomon's wives, said Matt Finn.
Yeah.
Was it 900 wives and 700 concubines? Something like that? Or was it the other way around? Could you imagine?
No, I can't. I got rid of the one I had. I'm not sure I could handle 4, let alone hundreds.
Could you imagine? Now, of course, most of them were political marriages and a show of wealth at the time, bloody, bloody, bloody.
Yeah. But think about
could you
that. You're looking at
imagine
the calendar. Okay, I can have you. I'll tell you can have me on Wednesday at
Yeah.
4, and then
3 years from now.
yeah,
Yeah, he would be kept busy, that's for sure. Well, why would you want that? Was there something culturally? I know about the acquisitions of wives was like acquiring certain kinds of
well,
property.
I can understand on the
But-
political ones,
Having kids with any of them.
right? But I can understand on the political ones. So I'm the king of this country, and I'm going to marry a princess from that country, and my heir will be the king of that country. Then,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, you
So-
don't have 900 countries out there to work with. So
I know.
he was marrying. What do you do when you have 47 sons contesting for the throne? Or vying for the throne, even though you have a clear-cut heir to the throne.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I choked on my swallowing my 7-Up during the break,
Oh, don't do that.
and it won't go away.
Yeah, once it goes down the wrong pipe, you got to pretty much take a vacuum down
pretty
your
much
throat to get
done.
that.
Yeah.
Get yourself a small wet vac and just suck that moisture right out of your lungs.
I just threw something on the floor because my child stole my garbage can.
Yeah.
Out of here. So, anyway,
If you didn't have children, how would you blame all kinds of stuff on them?
he couldn't.
Yeah,
That's
you
the
got to
thing, he
have them.
couldn't.
Got to have them.
So, yeah, it was interesting when I was doing that series on the life of David. It's interesting, even in the biblical accounts, you go
You did a
through.
whole series on my life.
Wrong, David. Different
Oh.
David.
Oh,
He was a Jewish
there's
guy.
another one. There's
He
another
was
one.
He was a Jewish David.
Oh, a Jewish David. Yeah, there's lots of those.
And so he had like 7 sons, I think, but all of them except for Solomon ended up dead in one way or another.
Because you only need the one. The others are all spares.
Yep.
Son,
And the
I need you to
apologetic
go and attack that army, and I want you to lead from the front. Can't
apologetic
Solomon do
was
it? Nope,
that
Solomon's busy that day.
he didn't have anything to do with the death of his sons, but they all mysteriously died for revolting or for wanting to establish themselves as king, even on David's deathbed, while he's giving this kingdom to Solomon. He's got his other son, Abinadab or something like that, and he's up on the mountain with a big celebration going, I'm going to be king now.
In all of my studies of European kings and things like this, and for all the way people idolize princes and things like this, I find many princes revolting.
They are, and a lot
There you
did
go.
revolt in their revolution. So, yeah, I agree.
I think
So-
if we were living in a more barbaric age, Prince Harry would be in a few years
Oh, yeah.
gunning for that throne.
Yeah, if not already. So, but it's an interesting story.
Princes
whole
should
thing
never
with,
marry an ambitious
with-
woman.
Bathsheba and Solomon. There are thoughts from a Jewish scholar at Yale University that wrote a neat book on David, where he thinks that Solomon may not have even been the actual blood son of David, that he was the son of Uriah, Bathsheba's original husband, just because of the way the scripture is written, the apologetic style of it, of the story. And so it's very interesting. And it says that she came to David he was pretty much in his dotage. He's ready to die. And she's privately meeting in his chambers with him to coax him to name Solomon the next king. And meanwhile, his other son is over there at the temple declaring himself king and in his father's stead. And so it's a very interesting story. If it's like that whole thing about Goliath and did David actually kill him, or did one of his mighty men of valor kill him? there's those big questions. The apologetic stands almost in contrast to other accounts in the biblical texts. So it's very interesting. Anyway,
Well,
so
history is written by the victors.
yes,
So you always have to put a grain of salt with that,
yes,
because the politicians that work for the kings are going to make the kings look the best they can, and throw all the blame on those that didn't win.
yes. So, well,
Where's Professor Bauer? We have not seen Professor Bauer in.
I haven't seen him in a while.
No, he commented. I know he's not dead because he commented on something I posted. So over the
There's
weekend.
Sarah
So.
Yusuf. Hey, Sarah.
Hey guys,
How are you?
doing?
Happy New Year.
Happy New
Year to
Year,
you
blah,
too,
blah,
dear.
blah. I get so sick of holiday greetings after a while.
Well, we sure we're done for at least until February, I would think, right? Except
Yeah,
Chinese New
what's
Year's
in
is the end of
February?
January.
Oh,
So
Chinese New Year is coming.
Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Or as Mr. T would say, Valentine's Day. So,
I'm sure there's many historical couples that you could probably talk about during that month. So,
oh, I'm sure.
romantic couples. So.
Historical couples.
Yeah.
I like Bogey and Bacall for an historical couple.
Oh, yeah. That's a classic. Classic.
I see stuff about them all the time. So
I would hope not, because they're both dead.
well, no, it's the Bogart
Flynn and
Estates
30 or 40
Instagram.
cards. Yeah. That's romantic.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's on your mind tonight, Sarah?
No, I mean, basically, everything you said today, it pretty much is. I'm just taking it as verification of what all the women in my office tell me about them and their husbands. It's
Yeah.
pretty much the same thing. Said, oh, okay, that's true. So, it's
It's
Yes.
not totally true. It's not totally true. Some men are refined and dignified and such. Be a little barbaric, but
yeah.
See,
well, I live in the South, so
I'm not that typical guy. I was never the redneck, with the ripped off t-shirt sleeves, getting myself full of oil from my carburetor and fixing.
it's not
my
even
thing.
that. It's not even, it's about having shared values, right? What
Yes.
you guys considered important. Like when you were talking about that dream that guy had, and he was talking to his wife about fear,
Yeah.
things to be afraid of. I was seriously wondering if the woman who wrote that article was still married to that man.
I wonder. I think they probably are. I don't know for
possible.
sure.
If they have threads of commonality. I think it was the same couple that you said was going after the Wedgwood crystals and all that with bottle rockets and
Yes.
Chinese
I
fireworks.
grimaced during that part.
That's just blatant
Don't
disrespect
damage
of
the
property.
Wedgwood.
That's just
Yes.
that's blatant disrespect of property. So
Yeah, I was never the guy who was. I was not into like big equipment and death cars and what do you call the big meets, the car meets, not collision cars. What do you call them?
The
Demolition
derbies,
cars.
Demolition derbies.
I was never into that because I wasn't into cars. I wasn't into automotive things, which just was not my thing. And I was into other pursuits.
that's
starships.
fine.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be things that are considered masculine or feminine. A guy can learn how to cook. A woman can
I
get
started
under the
cooking
hood
in
and
junior high.
change the oil. So as far the whole in terms of not gender but masculine, what is considered masculine and feminine, that's an illusion, because yes, in some ways men are they have more physical strength, and women have to compensate in other ways. Each
Sure.
sex has its own strength, but it's I mean, people are just different. I mean, I think when you look at, these differences, you have to look at the underlying issue. I mean, this guy can have, you know, a hobby in which he spends his time and his money and effort into. I mean, I would have an issue if you said, okay, this project is completed, and then you go out and spend $10,000 more on it. I would have an issue with that. If you're married and are on a particular, may or may not be on a limited income, or, depending on how.
It's called living history, dear. It's not a project. It's an ongoing thing.
Right.
It's like Vic Mignola, who is the guy who started the fan series Star Trek Continues, where he plays Captain Kirk and all this, and they built these sets. It's not the guy in Ticonderoga; it's a different guy.
Mm-hmm.
They built their sets in Georgia, and just all the money he put into making that series exacting. He said, when I was talking to him, I was interviewing him for the magazine, and he said, he says, "Were all my other friends, they took all their hobby money, went into boats and motorcycles and cars and faster cars and all that stuff." He says, "Not that I didn't like those things." He says, "But I liked this better. And this is where I put all my money like that. Instead of spending $10,000 on a motorcycle, I put it into these sets. Instead of spending $20,000 on a boat, I put it into this." And of course, other people did too and helped him build that stuff. And he said that's where his hobby was. So I'm kind of that kind of guy. Well, if I had that kind of money to dump into cars are not my thing. I'd go to Matt Finn. Matt Finn does cars. I can see where he would put his money into that hobby. Me, if I had that kind of extra money, I'd build the sets of the Enterprise. Right. That's the kind of thing.
But they've been built. They've been built. Why would you need to build more?
Somebody has a car,
Access.
But they keep building cars.
Yeah, but that car, I mean, what are you going to do with your own set of the Enterprise?
Oh, I have plans. Trust me.
Now, if you were going to say something like, "I want to build a functional Millennium Falcon," I'm like, I get behind that. Let's do it.
A functional one?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had that kind of money, I'd do that.
There was one article I saw like several years ago where this guy found, I think it was like a derelict fast food.
Hi back there.
Fast food,
Hi,
kitchen function, like where you have those plastic seatings and all that. And he went ahead and installed it in his house. And he told his wife, "Well, you wanted a new kitchen," and it looked like nice. Inside of a, with the flooring and everything, it looked exactly like the inside of a McDonald's with the old seats, with the
yep
back in the days.
Well,
if that's your thing,
do it.
I mean, but it's a shared space.
Thousands into fabric and stuff to build the proper 15th century, outfit and stuff. It's I get it,
baby.
No, I mean, there's passion, but I mean, everything has its own place. I mean, if you're gonna have I guess what is the word I'm looking for? A very select sort of passion, and you either make sure that the wife is on board, or you put it in an area that doesn't interfere with her. Like that's why you end up with man caves and garages and all that stuff. I mean, without
Joe Souchere of Garage Logic used to say, "This is where you buy the new motorcycle or you buy the new saw and you put it out in the garage and you throw a tarp over it in the back corner. And you try and hope that you can get it by a month or so before she notices. And then when she goes, 'Did you buy a motorcycle? That old thing? Oh, it's been there forever.'"
Weeks.
Yeah, and you go through all that effort just to avoid what? It's to
avoid being told that we as grown men can't make decisions like that.
Yeah.
This coming from the guy who said he was arguing about for at least 3 to 4 minutes about socks. So,
hey,
socks are an important thing.
A civilized man knows how to take care of his socks.
Your socks should match in fabric, weave, and color. Just because of the same
I
color.
don't even
one
care
is
if
a
they
knit sock
match.
and one is a nylon sock. That's no good. That's no good. They got to be the same sock.
I
I
don't
mean,
care
I
if they
agree with
match.
that. I mean, at least that much. But I mean, and then you think there are people who don't even follow that. So I mean,
Well, yeah.
I mean, there's, as they say, there's all types.
Child.
Now, totally
It's time for you to
different
go to bed.
in the 14 and 1500s. I'm totally in favor of party colored tights. I'm going to wear a red and blue one on this leg and a green and gold one on that leg or whatever. Totally fine.
Who cares? That's what our kids do anyway. I
Yeah.
guess it's the in thing nowadays to mismatch your socks.
Yeah.
I
just
think
doesn't
that
fit
is
on
a
that
product.
parent.
That's a generational product. It's parents who don't know how to take care of their socks because they never did when they were kids. And they're like, screw this. I'm going to just let my kids wear whatever socks they want. So they get all the socks, the same brand, just different colors. You mix and match them, go to hell. Or go to hell. Where'd that come from? That was Freudian. Have a field day, I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's always, the fad things, like
Mhm.
in the 90s where some kids would wear their jeans or pants lower than their underwear, or
Yeah.
wear their hat backwards, or,
I still do that. I can't stand that. I hate that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's much like with your kids. It's considered a phase, that you hope
Yes.
that they grow out with. I mean, when you look at your, I guess, Abby and Bryn, do you think that they still do a lot of the same fashions that they had when they were kids? Did they carry
They would
that over when
occasionally
they were
do the
adulting? I mean,
mismatched socks.
Well, Dave knows better. Let him answer.
They would occasionally do the mismatched socks, but they were fairly fashion forward.
right. Yeah.
Anything else about my kids, Dave? Did you?
You have intelligent.
You want to
kids.
add to that?
You have intelligent kids. Well, even I was commenting the other day. Rowan has great fashion sense.
She does.
We're walking through Target, and she's like, "I want this and this and this, and those would go great in my room." And I'm like, "Wow, they would," but they're like, "That'd be like $300. We're not doing that." But
Yeah.
she has a great sense of style.
She
if
does.
If she had the money behind her, she could do some fabulous things.
Yeah.
I'm not going to back her though. I'd be broke in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I'm her dad, and I can't even back her. Yeah, I like that. Let's find the cheap version of that.
Yeah.
Let's go to Goodwill and see what they've got. Keep
And
your
that brings
wardrobe
us,
stocked.
and that brings up that other issue, that you were saying about, indulging kids,
Yes.
because it's like parents today. I'm not a parent, but I mean, when I see other people who have kids and stuff, that like the parenting, everybody has their own different parenting style, and the new trend, at least from a millennial or whatever standpoint is, they've gotten away from being an actual parent and wanting to be their best friend, which
Yes.
can't have that.
Yeah.
You can't be your kid's best friend.
No.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But so here's where I differ from a lot of parents that I know. So yes, you can't just indulge them in everything, but you should stop and actually listen to what they're saying, because often you can come to a compromise. You can say, okay, I understand where you're going with this, but here's a more inexpensive approach which will give you the same result, or a very near result that I think you can accept. And so often we listen to the first part of what the kid is saying, and it's so out there that we just sort of tune it out instead of listen to what they're actually trying to achieve. I think it's good to let kids branch out and express their own style.
And see, I think that there are guys like Uncle Dave's that come along and they go, I hear this and I observe this and this is what I think about that, but they haven't heard it 300 times for the last 30 days. Yes.
Everyone agrees that you're too loud.
Everyone agrees that I'm too loud?
Mom, me, and Rowan.
Rainey, what? I'm too loud? Got it. So, yeah, I'm going to end this pretty soon tonight anyway.
Yeah.
But that's everybody's down in our bedroom tonight.
What did my loving
Tomorrow's
wife
the
say?
first day
Shut
of
up!
Yeah. Tomorrow's the first day of school since before Christmas. But guess what's hitting us tonight? Ice storm. So there might not be school tomorrow, depending on how we come
I
out.
think we're going to get hit with a really major ice storm.
Yep.
It looks pretty bad.
So Yeah, I've been outvoted, said Chuck Thurston. You're absolutely right there, brother.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, it's more of an organizational type thing. I mean, if there's going to be an ice storm, that'd be a good day, make sure you
Yeah.
get all the boxes empty, get everything organized so everybody knows where everything's at. You're not, you were not wasting
Let's tear
time.
up all the socks today.
Yeah.
Call in Marie Kondo if you can. I mean, and try to just get organized. And I swear, it'll incredibly de-stress the house. I mean, because what is the yelling mostly about? Finding stuff. I can't find this. I can't do this. Where's my earbud? All this stuff. But yeah. But the only other thing that I wanted to comment on is that the word, the same word for men and women, the word "done" means two different things. I mean,
yes. Tell us what is the woman's version of "done"?
Well, done for us means that, okay, it has been and task has been completed to my satisfaction, and I don't have to think about it anymore. So, versus if it's something that, I can add this, I can add that, then you're clearly not satisfied with the end result. Like paint, like with, I guess, Uncle Dave and his painting. He said, I should add this, I could add that. That's different. Those are always works in progress, with, things like art, or like they have its own life,
Art is basically never
grows,
really done.
has its own growth in life.
Yeah.
But
They're like kids.
Yeah, basically. But for the male perspective, and you guys can, elaborate on that. What does done mean to you? That something is done.
Are you asking?
Yeah.
When is done really done?
And I know it's difficult because out of all three, with all three of us, we still have 90+ projects going on. So
because okay, here's an example. When you ask the kids to do the dishes, when is done to you?
When the dishes are done.
Okay, but they're just washed, they're laying in the rack and good to go.
If
or are you saying
one
that
of my
they're all
kids
put away
finishes
in the drawer,
the dishes and says they're done, and I walk out there and there's still 2 plates and there's stuff on the table and there's a plate on the floor that somebody gave to the dog to lick clean, or there's a pot from somebody's mac and cheese they made without saying anything to anybody, and that's why they weren't hungry for dinner. And that's still sitting on the stove. That to me is not done. And I think that's an extreme example, but not done is extreme. To me, I've given them the whole litany. The dishes, the pots and pans that are there. Sometimes I pitch in. Last night, I did most of the pots and pans. I did some of the plates. I did some of the waiting on Flynn. It was his turn to do dishes. And so he had a pretty easy time of it. But he still left a pot with mac and cheese residue on it. Now, I may have left that
pot or Rowan's pot?
Rowan's.
See,
that might be why he left it.
Yeah, that's why he didn't do it.
Yeah, he probably left it for her. Well, so done is done when the task is completed. And I don't think it's a big nebulous, well, when is it really completed? Nah, it's done when it's done. When mom and dad come out and say, good enough, thank you. Go do your thing now.
But now, Sarah, when would you consider those dishes done?
I don't have kids, but when I would consider them done, I would probably when they were either, I would say either in the drying rack or put away.
See, and I would say put away. It's not, the task isn't done until the plates are all back on their stack in the cupboard, and the silverware is all in the drawer, and the glasses are in their cupboard, and everything is done. That to me is done.
That's when it's done. Now our kids have this thing of, I can't finish the dishes because nobody's here to help put them away. It's like, you can still finish. When I do the dishes, I usually do the dishes at 5 a.m. and there's not usually anybody around. And so guess what? When I am washing dishes, I also dry them and put them away. in the cupboard.
See, and for
So-
us, when I was a kid growing up, doing the dishes, we had a dishwasher, so I was lucky. But
Mhm.
they weren't. If I was told to do the dishes, it wasn't done until they were all put away. The dishwasher had run its full cycle. They had dried, and I put them away.
Yes.
But I mean, but there's also, a second aspect to that. You said if it was not done to your satisfaction or what was agreed upon as being done, that the kids know what they're supposed to do, that, if it's not done, is there consequence?
Yeah. The consequence
Rather
is,
than you doing it, because
yep,
that's not a
the
consequence.
consequence is the thing that we have found that works the most these days for our kids. Consequence is you lose your device. You lose access to your devices. And we got to cover it because we've seen them go, well, you didn't say I couldn't be on my Game Boy. That's like, because I didn't think of the brand name. Okay. So you can't be on your phone. You can't be on your laptop. Can't be on your Game Boy. Can't be on your Switch. Can't be on your TV. Can't be on your laptop. And you got to run down the whole thing. And it's everything. And if there's anything I missed, guess what? You're not allowed
They're
on
lawyers.
that.
They're basically lawyers. I mean,
Yes.
considering you, I would think that you would teach them on understanding the spirit of the law.
Yes.
Versus the literal,
Yes.
It's like trying to interpret the Constitution. As far as,
Exactly.
so
I want them understanding the spirit of the law, what it means, what this entails.
which
Now, I
usually
told my
involves a
kids
conversation.
when I was growing up, doing the dishes meant cleaning the kitchen. It basically meant do the dishes, wipe down the counters, wipe off the stove, sweep up any residue off the floor, mop it up if it needs mopping up. And it was usually, mopping sounds like a big job. It was usually all of 2 or 3 minutes worth of work. Oh, somebody spilled spaghetti sauce, so I got to mop that spot up.
I don't
like
think
that.
the kids are doing reenactments of Annie in the kitchen.
Nine, they are not.
Singing "It's a
So-
Hard Knock Life."
And they've got Swiffers now. So,
Yeah.
So, done is done. It's like, sometimes I'll look out and they go, Dad, will you come look in the kitchen and tell me if it's done? And I'm like, yeah, okay, let me take a look. And I look and I go, yeah, you're good. Thanks, man. I appreciate your hard work.
And that's
And,
important too, to give, the positive reinforcement. Because I mean,
Yeah.
with cleaning up, and it's also, about doling out respect, having respect for space,
Yes.
respect for your mom and parents, and that they don't have to deal with it. It's
That's right.
that whole thing of pulling away to say, oh, do you love mom? Let's respect her and help her out.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, and just doing your share of the responsibilities. Everybody has to work together to run a household.
yeah.
That's right. And that's what we keep
Dictatorship.
trying to
Mhm.
impress on our kids is conscientious. Be conscientious of the other people in the house. Be contributing, because everybody in the house, you know what my kids were doing for a long time? They don't say it much anymore because I think we nipped it in the bud, or not nipped it in the bud. We took care of it handily. But it was, how come I have to wash the dishes? I didn't eat off all those dishes. And then I'd
Oh.
say, why do you get to eat the food? Mom made that food. That's mom's food. Why do you get to eat of it? It's not just her food. I said, same thing with dishes. And so we made a rule in the house. Everybody has to wash their own dish. No
Mhm.
matter when they eat, what time of day they eat it, you're responsible for washing your own dish. Then if there are dishes after dinner, that's the communal time. If you don't want to wash a lot of dishes after dinner, then wash your own dish during the day. And it's just the way it works.
You should do the same thing you do with your pins. You should,
Yes.
because you can go to Target and you can buy color-coded plates.
Yeah.
Buy 2 of each color, and when your color runs out, if you haven't washed it, that's your problem. You can watch the rest of us eat. Our plates are clean.
There it is. There it is. And we had thought of, Rainey said, I'm going to throw out every sock in the house that belongs to the children, buy them each 7 pairs of socks. And they all match and their own stuff. And so they get 1 pair of socks a day. my son would die. He'd have to change his socks more than once a week. But you think teenage boy
Ugh.
and socks. But the same thing with dishes. She said, I'm going to get rid of all the dishes.
last week.
Yeah. Randy's like, I'm going to get rid of all the dishes. Everybody's going to have their plate, bowl, fork, spoon, butter knife, and cup. That's it. Not me, not her, the kids. But what was the little joke I told a couple of weeks ago? It's when you go to the cupboard and your kid goes to the cupboard to make themselves something in a bowl, and they're shocked that there's no bowls because you find them all under their bed. You know, it's just, that's the way it is. So
Hoarding
What do you
bowls like
do?
Smonk's gold.
Yeah,
Yes.
but usually with like, an inch of milk left in the bottom and a couple of Cheerios floating in it.
Yep.
And just disgusting stuff like that. Half
Yeah.
eaten mac and cheese
Yeah,
from 6
I mean,
months
that's
ago.
that's a hygiene thing. I mean,
it
that's
is.
a conversation. So,
It is.
yeah.
It's just I open my son's room at any given day, and there's plates and bowls all over his desk and in the floor, and it's like, son, I said, when you come out of your room this morning to get ready for school, so I need you to bring all your dishes and all your pop cans and all your bottles and all your cups and I need that all brought to the kitchen. You're gonna have to take care of that.
Oh, I can't carry all that, Dad. It's too much.
It took me a week once, almost a full week, to get that accomplished out of him one night in 1 week, very recently. So it's like, kids, I said to them yesterday or today, where did you gain the notion that you can tell mom and dad no about chores?
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry, what? I'm gonna repeat. I always say to Flint, hey, can I repeat that? You gonna tell me that a little louder so I can hear it a little better? You said what to your mom? Your mom said, pick up your room. You said what? I'm all ears, son. What was that?
There's a video that's
You said
viral right
no.
now of a dad pushes the door open. You know how the kids have stuff piled in front of their door.
Yep.
Pushes the door open through all the crud. Says, "Hey, I thought I told you to clean your room." And she says, "I thought I told you I was playing video games." He picks up a guitar off the floor and smashes the TV set
Nice.
screen, and then drops it. Goes. By this time, she has leapt off the bed because she thinks he's gonna club her with it next. and he's like, "Okay, start cleaning." Walks out. It's like,
Show's over.
Yep.
Hey, Johan. In the chat room.
oh, and I'm going. There's not a third person here. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yes, there is. It's Sarah.
No, I mean, I wasn't counting you.
Oh,
You're the host. You're the host.
that's right. I'm the host.
You're
I'm the
supposed to
host
be
of the
here.
most. So, yeah. So that is the constant struggle.
I mean, some people have said that, training kids is the equivalent to training dogs. It's
No,
Yeah.
dogs
It
eventually
is.
will learn the trick,
Eventually.
and they're excited to do it.
Yeah. They're
Look what
eager
I
to-
learned. Look what I learned. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Look what I learned. Kids
They're
aren't like
eager
that.
to please you.
The difference is you have to clean up after your dog, but eventually your kids will be able to change your diaper. So
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I raise my kids so they want me around when they get old. Or when I get old. That
It's
is.
Yeah.
the circle of life. You have
Yes.
to give them some leeway, otherwise they'll put you in a not nice nursing home.
That's right. That's right.
yeah, and there are a lot of those out there. I just lost my aunt. She came down with pneumonia at the home, and her
Oh.
daughter said they just weren't taking proper care of her.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's a common story. I hear a lot of people in nursing home.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, especially in Asian cultures, they talk, about filial piety and all that. They're
Well, it's why
specific-
I'm
Yeah.
taking care of my parents. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my mom is temporarily in a home while she's doing rehab from her leg,
Yeah.
but we're down there every day.
hmm
Right.
Is she doing better? Or how is her?
She is.
Yeah.
She's doing quite well. But until she can support full weight and doesn't have to be part-time in a wheelchair and all that stuff, we don't have room for a wheelchair here. We aren't set up for that.
Yeah. So how many weeks are they expecting, or are they projecting?
Oh, I think it's going to be another 4 weeks.
Okay, another month or so. So,
but
yeah,
she's getting better. And since they've listened to me and started giving her nap, they were getting her up at 7 a.m. and trying to keep her up all day, and because they don't like their people to stay in bed all day. And I'm like, well,
yeah,
that's a good
nap. Cognitively, she needs a nap, and she'll tell you when she needs it. And she doesn't have to stay in bed all day. She usually wants to lay down for an hour, maybe 2. And once they've gotten that figured out, and she'll just say, I want to go take a nap, and they'll put her in bed for a couple hours, and she gets up and she's totally together and able to have conversation and stuff. But if she goes too long without sleep, then she's just slurring all her words and mumbling along, and she's just cognitively not there. And they're like, well, she's 93. And I'm like, well, she broke her leg. She didn't break her brain. You know, she's just tired.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate because even from a staffing perspective, you know, they're just trying to get the day, you know, it's a difficult, you know, environment to work in too. It's very depressing.
Yeah.
A lot of people, you know, they try. I mean, I have to give some nurses credit, but I mean, a lot of them
do like this facility. There, the nurses there really chose, because the nice thing about our area with the Mayo Clinic here in Rochester and the hospitals and all that, there's plenty of work for nurses and nursing staff in the fields they want to be in. So the ones that are at the nursing homes are generally nurses that want to be in geriatric care.
Yeah. I mean, there's a shortage. There's a shortage everywhere. I mean, we have a hard time getting nurses and doctors and nurse practitioners. You know, we're always constantly trying to hire and stuff, and it's all over the country. It's not just, you know, certain areas.
Sure.
I mean, I've been to Mayo, and they have a pretty good facility and a pretty good setup. I mean, so I'm assuming that, you know, if they all kind of, you know, had some training or, you know, worked out of there, then they kind of take that to the other locations and, you know, bring that organization, because let me tell you, it's not there. So,
really.
And the other thing is, with Mayo sending their patients to these facilities for rehab, they have care teams that pop in and check on their patients, and so they'll notice if things aren't being done right.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that reputation.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, even most people are not aware. I mean, if you have like a chronic condition like diabetes or heart failure, you can get yourself a care manager just by calling the number on the back of your insurance card and say, hey, I have hypertension. I need help with this. I can get a free blood pressure cuff. I can, you know, get some help with that, with the diet, or, you know, whatever. I could, if you need a ride, you know, then they can arrange for transportation. I mean, there's a lot of things that the insurance can do that they don't, you know, sound off, that you have to ask for it, which is difficult, because most people, they don't ask because they don't either know to ask, or that, you know,
they're afraid that they're going to get
shy or ashamed, or, you know, that I need help, because I mean, that's what for medical, I mean, you can't even live in this country without some form of medical insurance. You know, you have to have it, you know, to survive.
Well, I don't, and I'm getting screwed over really good. So,
so, but I mean, that's just the way, it's just the way it is. And there are a lot of, you know, things in place to help, but people have to know where to look. And, you know, in our office, we try to do that. I mean, I pretty much, you know, try to, you know, help whoever I can, whether it's, you know, medication assistance, you know, getting some patient assistance for that, or they're not able to cook for themselves or have meals at home. We have to get all adult protective services involved if they're not able to bathe themselves, you know, or not able to survive on their own, you know, survival rates. But I mean, it's just, it's a system. It's a bad system. And especially with mental health, especially, it's even worse, you know, the big, you know, with everything going on, and you turn on the news and there's, you know, another shooting, like that thing that happened in Idaho where those four college kids got killed, and, you know, people are just, you know, going crazy. The facilities are swamped, packed, where they're trying to send them to other hospitals just to hold them. You know, there's no beds, there's no, you know, and, you know, on top, and that's just, and that was all that was still happening pre-COVID, with, you know, with all with all the things. And now we have, on top of COVID, we have RSV, we got flu running rampant because everybody got their COVID. Well, I mean, probably present company accepted, but most people got their COVID shots, but nobody got their flu shots. So now we're seeing flu everywhere. So yeah. So Happy New Year.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So, but I'm going to be positive and hopeful that 2023 is going to be better than 2022 and 2021. So, I mean,
I think it will.
I think it's going to take till 2024 to get better. But
yeah. Well, I mean, I have hope for the future always. So.
Well. Yeah.
It's the gradual.
I think as long as the idiots that are currently running the government stay in power, and I don't mean just the Democrats, I mean all of the idiots that are running the government are. But I always say, if they're in, vote them out.
Well, I think it's more than just that, because right now there's faces. I mean, there's people running the stuff in the background. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, the bureaucracy.
Their aides, they have people.
I'd love to be able to fire the bureaucracy.
Yeah. So, and people are all about trying to put democracy everywhere. Is that we have to get democracy to work here first before we start exporting.
Well,
right.
We can't have permanent lifetime jobs in any place in the government.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the problem, because people create these little fiefdoms of control and they bottleneck stuff and they create all kinds of problems. And there should be term limits on all political offices, and there should be term limits on all of the bureaucracy jobs, the behind the scenes things. I understand a certain amount of continuity, because if we're going to change our administration every 4 years, foreign governments need to know they can rely on decisions that have been previously made.
Right.
So you need a certain amount of bureaucracy within the State Department so that they can say, well, no, Mr. Secretary, we can't do that because there's this piece of paper that was signed and we have to do these things for these countries.
Right.
Because we have existing
promised, be good to
I get that. I get that. But at the same time, then maybe you only let people sit in a specific chair for 10 years. They make you go to a different chair within the government, but they can't stay in one place and have all that power. It's just too dangerous. It's not. I mean,
that's
not what we
were
trying
to
set
escape from King George. That's where we were trying to get away from.
Exactly.
And then now, now people are complaining, why is nobody controlling everything? Or said, I don't want the government doing this or doing that. For the states every state does everything differently. And if they had everything under control, then it would be fine. I would be worried. Now because whatever is going on and the ideas that they're trying to put out there, they're trying to raise the minimum wage here in Virginia to $20 an hour over the next 5 years, and we can't afford that. Versus, it'd be $15 an hour. Here is we can, as employers and stuff, we can barely afford that. In California, that's poverty level.
Yeah.
So it should be based on the local
economy of what your state is. Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah.
On what that is, but. And then there's all this other stuff going on, because they're trying to worry about their survival versus what their constituents want, right? They'll promise one thing, and have you ever, in the amount of history, met a politician that actually met his promises?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. I hear people criticize him, and I say, could you please tell me what he's done wrong? What has he done so wrong to this country? What promise did he make that he did not work very hard to keep, if not fulfill? That's usually where it falls apart for most people.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole nother show.
That is a whole nother show.
That is. But he's one of the few politicians that said, I'm going to do these things. And he actually set out to do those things instead of just placating people by saying, I'll do these things. And you tell one group of people, I'm going to support A for you. And then get to the next town, I'm going to support B for you. And it's like, you just be consistent in your message, and mean what you say and do what you I have promised, you know.
Yeah.
And
And
that's just not just in politics. That's word to live by for anybody. So, I mean,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Because I'll tell you, because I feel like there's the gentleman doesn't really exist anymore. There's no people, honorable people. You know, I can, and as honorable people that I know, I can probably list on, you know, one hand, as opposed to,
sure.
yeah. So I mean,
I'm trying to think. The last honorable person we had in office, Truman, maybe Roosevelt.
No, I wasn't talking about politically. I'm talking about just in life. I mean,
But
I
I'm just
wish
saying.
I wish there was like a charm school for guys to be taught how to be honorable again.
There's a really excellent book. It was written by a woman named Emily Post. If they would just read that damn book, everybody should read that book. It explains how you're supposed to act in every social situation.
Yeah, and they said, "Oh, that's just a girly book."
It's not a girly book. My grandmother made me read it. I have a copy around here someplace.
There you go. Yeah, and
I'm working on one for masonry.
Send a copy to Rowan and Ellery.
Yeah.
And Flynn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rowan really needs to read that book.
She does. Rowan is just in that stage, though.
She is all sass all the time.
Yes.
And though I love her witty repartee, she has a very, very sharp rapier wit, and she's very pointed with it sometimes.
Yes. And she's too much with it. I think if it were an adult, it would be different.
I think if she was an adult, she'd be slapped 3 or 4 times and she'd back off some.
With kids, we don't take the same kind of.
Nobody slaps an 11-year-old in the face very often.
No, it doesn't happen.
Not even, what is it, that little boy or whatever that would have happened a few months ago? Was it in December or November? That thing that happened at the football game?
Oh, when she
that kid, he needed a boot in the ass is what he needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
she did the whooping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When a boy inappropriately touches another girl and she turns around and puts him in his place physically, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, especially in this day and age, you know, men and women, they have to learn how to, you know, not control themselves, but protect themselves, because, you know, people are crazy. So, but I mean, it's like this whole issue with the bathroom thing. I mean, I would be okay with gender neutral bathrooms as long as they got rid of urinals and just had stalls. Because I mean, you share a bathroom at home. Flynn probably shares the bathroom with the girls. So I mean, why would that be an issue?
Or just do a bathroom like, you know, so they have, a lot of schools will have your boys' room, your girls' room, and like a handicaps room that's like just a single bathroom. You know, only one person in there at a time. Fine, have 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah.
Not have any gender on them. If it's occupied, it's occupied. Go in, you lock the door.
Family rooms, because say if you're a dad and you're out with your little girl, you know, I said, "Daddy, I have to go use the potty." You know, what are you going to do? You know,
right?
Yeah,
right.
As far as that, but I mean, a lot of people have ideas, but you know, they just have to regain, you know, a sense of honor and sense. You know, I mean, I'm all for creativity and all that, but you have to base it in reality. You know.
Yes.
About what's doable, what's feasible versus, you know, I mean, you know, whether you're going to Mars or whatever, you know. Yeah. What's going to be able to be done in our lifetime? Because I mean, even for like women's equality, I mean, we're just getting equal pay for equal work. You know, that's still an issue. You wouldn't think that is. I mean, so it's not. It's really like a big suffragette thing. You know.
Right.
Women having the vote or having the ability to own property or to have our own thing, and you know, be able to function without you know, a man, or being called everything under the sun from, you know.
Yeah, the only place where I don't see, so I'm all for equal pay. I think that 2 people, regardless of their gender, in the same field should have the same pay scales. But if somebody's been there 25 years versus someone that's been there 6 months, clearly that person that's been there 25 years He's
No,
gonna be
but they
making
should
more
get
money.
more. I mean, that's different. I mean, if
Yes.
you're there, if you're not tenured, but I mean, if you have experience, if you're loyal to the company, of course you're
But
going
my
to get.
problem is I've heard some of these millennials, well, how come they're making more money? Well, because they've been here for 10 years longer than you have.
And they have more
know
experience. It's a matter of experience. I mean, it's also that young attitude of I know everything. When
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah.
Because you don't.
Yeah.
I had somebody that I knew from Dave, our Clan Tartan days.
Yeah.
And somebody that was pretty well known in the group and worked at a hospital. And they were arguing, God, this is over 10 years ago, but they were arguing about how the owner of the company should be forced to pay higher wages, and which isn't a bad thing. If you can go in and you can go talk, you can go negotiate anything you want. But I remember without really remembering all the circumstances he was bringing up, I asked him the question. I said, well, did you go in on the day you were hired and negotiate a certain price? And he said, yes, I did. I got a contract. I said, is he upholding his end of the contract? Yeah. I said, well, then wouldn't you be breaking your contract by trying to force him from the government to pay you more? I said, why don't you just go in and ask him to negotiate a contract? He said, well, he won't give it to me. He says he needs his money to support his second house and all of his cars and all his whatever, his travels. And I said, let me ask you a question. I said, if you started a company and you put your blood, sweat, and tears and every dime you had building that company for years until it was able to reach a spot where it was sustaining itself, and then it's at a spot where, guess what? 10 years or so down the line, it's starting to make money for you. And in the meantime, you have created a company that provides jobs for people.
Yeah.
But you make more money. Why should the people you've hired on a contract be able to come in and tell you we should make as much money as you make? That was his contention. And I said, did you put 10 years into building the company up from nothing? Was
Yeah.
it
If
your
a piece of
house
machinery
you put
breaks
on,
down, are you going to come up with
was it your
100,000?
house you put on for collateral in order to make sure that loan to make that company work? Was it your house you put up? Was it was it your hard work to get that going? I said, there's a place where a business owner, and I said to him, there's a place where a business owner deserves to make a hell of a lot more money than his employees. I said, because he's made that place work. Now, if you want, he could shut it down and walk away with the money he's made. Then guess what? You're out of a job. I said, so why don't you not look the gift horse in the mouth and go ahead and work for the pay that you agreed to?
Or, like you said originally, go in and sit down with them and say, hey, I've learned this much. My skills are worth more now than when I was hired. I'd like to renegotiate for a bigger piece of the pie.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's my thinking on it, Sarah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's a continued evolution of that culture of entitlement.
Yeah.
The way people think about how they're supposed to be entitled to
exactly
stuff without doing any work for it.
And Johan in the chat room, that's exactly what I told him. I said, you can always leave and go somewhere else.
Yep.
Well, no, I've been here for 5 or 6 years now. And it's like,
Amy,
well,
my ex worked for Target for years and years and years. She was a valued employee. She was trained as a supervisor in every department. Often when she was working, she'd have 5 departments underneath, which meant there's 4 other supervisors they're not having to pay for that night. Okay. They're having her do the work of 5 people. She wanted to get into management, and they didn't want to move her up into management because she was too valuable to them in the supervisory level. Okay. So we had openings at Office Max at the time, and I said, why don't you come over to Office Max? You got more than enough experience to move right into management. And she did. Moved into management, was making good money, and Target called her and said, we would really like to get you back. And she's like, I'm in management. I'm making the kind of money I want to make. And they sat down with her so as a supervisor, every year they'd give her an extra quarter, an extra 25 cents an hour. There you go. But now they had to go hundreds of dollars more, thousands of dollars more a year to get her to a level that she would come back, and they paid it and brought her in as management.
Yeah.
Chuck Thurston says it's fair game. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. And
I think he's saying equal pay for regardless of the gender, that you should be making the same money.
Oh yeah. Goose and gander. Yeah, I agree with that. Equal pay. Gender shouldn't matter. It's what you bring.
Gender shouldn't matter. Race shouldn't matter. No label should keep you from being able to do other than the descriptive labels that show that you're qualified for that position.
Oh, that was Johan. I'm sorry. I thought it was Chuck. Sorry.
I
Johan.
mean, if you need to be a master level mechanic to take a position that's open, then you need to be a master level mechanic to take that position. And just because you just graduated from mechanic school doesn't mean you're going to be qualified to take on that job.
Right.
So I get that, but that's the only thing that should really get in the way. It's if there's a job opening, and regardless of your race or your gender or any of that
hiring somebody that's experienced, got 15 years experience in what they're doing versus somebody beginning, there's going to be a variance in pay there as well.
Right. So if I come into, as a chef, if I go into a restaurant, all the years of experience I have, and the fact that I've been an executive chef and I've been a general manager of a restaurant, I have all that stuff to bring to it versus some kid just out of culinary school, I expect to get paid more when I start.
That's right.
Okay. At the same time, if they've already got a chef at my level who's been there for 10 years, I may not be making what he's making when I start.
Right.
Because he's already in their system. But I'm going to make way more than any other starting chef is going to make.
Right. And on that note, guess what? It's time to go. We're after 11 o'clock. So we're going to get out of here. Sarah, thank you for being here. Sarah.
Even though I don't.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for all your input.
I love that little white S in that pink circle. That's just
you're
warms my heart every time it comes.
Very pink tonight. Your pink is an adorable shade of pink tonight.
Yeah, I tried to change the color. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
To figure it out.
I think it means you're a girl.
Oh, is that in olden days? In olden days, pink was identified as boy.
Yeah,
I'd heard that and read that a long time ago.
Yeah, so that was
lipstick was made for men, high heels were made for men, wigs were made for men. It was all our vanity that created all that stuff, and women just usurped it to show how powerful they were.
Oh yeah, we just love to just create torture devices out of those and just torture ourselves out of it.
Why are you wearing that dress, lass? That's a man's garment. All right, Sarah, you have a good night.
All right, thanks, guys.
I'll see you later. Uncle Dave, same to you. You have a good night. I'll see you later. I'll probably talk to you tomorrow.
Probably.
See you, brother. All right, everybody else, guess what? It's time to get out of here. We're actually late getting out of here. Not that anybody's going to kick my butt for it, other than my wife, maybe. But it's time for us to take leave of each other. And so I want you all to remember we're not back until, what is today? It's Monday. We're here tomorrow with Wendy Robertson and I doing Robertson. And there's some interesting talk afoot, by the way, between Rainey and Wendy and some other people of a very interesting show coming down the pike. So keep that on your back burner. So all of you guys, you have a good night. And as always, live long and prosper.